Check it out.
All things Joe Rogan by day. Rogan Report podcast by night. All day. All night. A half hour to an hour-ish episodes once a week.
The Rogan Report podcast.
All right, Shane, welcome to episode 42.
Back at it again.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Let's go through the table of contents. Right off the topic, we're going to talk about this Collective West CD release show that I went to. That was awesome.
Oh, that sounds sick.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah.
The latest news, of course, Sheer resigning. What a cunt.
Yeah.
And JRE 1394, Matt Farah. He's host of the Smoking Tire podcast and YouTube channel.
Yeah.
1395, Glenn Villeneuve of Life Below Zero. The Gamechangers debunking by Chris Kresher, and then the rebuttal by James Wolks.
Yeah.
Who actually, Matt Brown, who just fought on the prelims, beat the shit out of back in like 2001.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I was
Nice.
just looking at Matt Brown's record, and I was like, oh, James Wolks, that's hilarious. So we'll talk a little bit about that Gamechangers debate, and of course UFC. We're gonna go watch the UFC tonight, and also you have a Joe joke or a Joe observation.
Joe observation. It might not be funny, but it might be neat.
Okay, fair enough. I don't have something again. I failed. I need to make a note to myself. I did just realize that I lost my whole file of stand-up comedy that I'd been writing. I haven't actually done and performed stand-up comedy, but I've been making the file of just notes of things that I think are funny.
Yeah.
And the whole thing, my phone crashed a while back, and I lost all of my notes, and I just realized tonight, just before we started recording this, that one's gone.
Apple products are so great, right up till they're not.
Yeah.
Right up till they fuck you right up your
this
ass.
is, you've got an old 5C, you said there.
Yeah, I'm using a backup right now.
I've got a 6S, which
it's
is
a brick,
also
pretty much.
my phone is pretty much as old as yours, although not regarded as the worst iPhone of all time.
Well, yours is still getting updates, I think. Mine is not.
Oh yeah,
There's some apps
That's
that
the-
work like complent dog shit.
so
on my
that's the
phone.
line, I guess. 6.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the 5 line is it right now, I think.
There we go. So let's talk about right off the topic. I went and saw the Collective West. They released their third album at the Aviary, which used to be the Artery.
Would this be kind of a
closed.
folk band? I haven't heard of the.
Yeah,
Collective
they're
West.
sort of like folk rock. I love them. They're like we met them at the Artery when Kimberly and I and them we played a show at the same. It was like a Thursday. I forget exactly. The owner Phil wanted to do some special every first Thursday of every month. He wanted to have like some kind of folk related show or something, and so me and Kimberly and the Living Daylights and the Collective West were the inaugural bands on the first night.
Oh shit!
So it was it was fun, and we met as soon as I heard them play. I was like, oh yeah, these guys are like right up my alley. They have lots of dynamics where they do like time changes and feel changes within songs.
Oh, nice.
There's a female lead
Nice.
singer and then a male lead singer, and then they all sing harmonies as well for each other.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things going on. I really like how they did this arrangement of this folk song. Well, it was folk because they were playing it, but it was, the song "She Drives Me Crazy" by the Fine Young Cannibals from the 80s.
I think I do. Yeah.
It's like, she drives me crazy.
oh yeah, totally. I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So they did an
Nice
arrangement.
representation, Reubs.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Spot on. It started out as that song, and then they kind of layered in Jack and Diane. Little ditty, Jack and Diane.
Oh, sick.
They like layered that in, and then they layered in some like modern pop songs to it as well. But then, a really, really nice arrangement and fun to see them. And Dave, the drummer in that band, and Alex, the bass player, they both helped me kind of realize my album. When I was just writing my songs after I broke my back, they were part of the show when I first played all those songs at the Artery for people the very first time.
Oh, that's
so they
awesome.
kind of helped me to realize those songs, and I figured I'd play a song from that night that we recorded at the Artery with Dave on drums and Alex on bass and me on guitar, and then there's Kaylee Cardinal singing harmonies, and Breezy Brian Gregg on guitar. Maybe one other person that I'm not thinking of, but I think that's about it.
What's awesome is I actually know all these names just from following your Facebook feed and Instagram feed. Like,
Right on.
This is greatness. I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, well, let's put that in now.
Okay.
fix him, they would need some help. Repair his broken bones and reinforce with living cells. The surgery, it seemed, went well. With after effects no one would believe if he would tell. The memories of a living hell. I had a habit and I walked alone. Decidedly empathic, but I'd hoped she wouldn't know. Then everything began to go slow. My knees started to weaken and my heart sank fucking low. Moments later I hit the floor. Please don't look at me, she said. I ain't trying to earn your sympathy. This is just a need, can't you see? Now please, just please. I felt the edge against my neck. She pushed a little harder, dragged an inch and then stopped to check. She said, now just hold on a sec. It'll all be over soon and in an instant you will rest. And then she pulled in close against my chest. Last thing I saw before the lights went out, I flashed across her face, then sank down deep into the couch. There was a kind of quiet loud. Finally I was sure there was no longer any doubt. And I was gone, at least for now. Please don't look at me, she said. I ain't trying to hide your sympathy. This is just a need, can't you see? Now please, just please. Come on, Brian. He came to in recovery. The drugs were wearing off and his senses returning. The nurse came and urged him back to sleep. In a dream I realized I had my first chance to speak. I said, listen here boy, I gotta tell you a story. Look at all this sick shit that was done. It's kinda sad I had to die for this sick bitch to have fun. And you know I'm not the only one to stop her, get some cops here, at least someone with a gun. And let me say right now, thanks a ton. Police stormed in and she said, I ain't trying to hide, you got nothing on me. This place is clean, can't you see? Now leave, just leave. But the detective knew where to look. He got impossible information, now he'd do it by the book. He had her sinker, line and hook. She wondered, after all these years, if her God had forsook her. Guilty, sad, but relieved, her goose was cooked. I didn't speak to him again. I let him go on with his life, heal his back, get on the mend. But I'm there at each and every bend. Silently I'm guiding a subtle push every now and then. My last and only friend. These memories of a living hell come to an end. Thank you.
Yeah, that was recorded live at the Artery.
So tight.
It was actually not tight at all. We had like 2 rehearsals with everyone, and I had just written the songs. It was my first time playing those songs for the world, and we were pretty loose. And not everyone. There's when you listen back, there's a lot of spots where it's like we're not quite together. But it was a lot of fun to play that show, and that song is about. When I broke my back, I had to have a surgery. They fused 3 of my vertebrae together. And to do that surgery, they basically cut me open and put in titanium rods and screws, kind of framing all 3 of the vertebrae. Then they take bone grafts from a cadaver, and they put those bone grafts around all of the rods and screws. And then the bone kind of grows in together with my bone and turns all that whole structure into like a titanium/bone combo. And I thought, like, wouldn't it be crazy if I started to get memories from this cadaver, and then if I used those memories to solve a murder? So that is essentially the story that's being told throughout the song.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's about a female,
very creative
female serial killer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of had sort of a what was that show about this serial killer that only killed serial killers?
Dexter.
Yeah, sort of had like a Dexter kind of vibe
awesome.
going on in my head when I wrote it.
Yeah.
Fun though, yeah. Love those guys, and a great CD release party. And that's my first time actually playing that song that was recorded. I never really did anything with those recordings, so that's the first time playing that song for anyone here on the podcast.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Other than the people that heard it live, I guess.
Yeah, which was me.
Yeah, so you're like, oh yeah. It's funny listening to the song. I can hear myself get distracted for a second, and I start to like. Almost panic that I'm going to forget the words, but then I got it back together. But I can hear it in my voice that I'm like, oh shit, I'm forgetting the words right now.
What's the next step?
Yeah, and then but I pulled it together.
Yeah,
it's so funny.
You had a cool like drawing thing that night. I remember.
Yeah, we did a.
Did you get anything sweet from that? Like...
I did lots of sweet drawings, but I never used those either. My plan, I wrote this song that's all instrumental, and the plan was to have people draw pictures while we played the song, and then I would kind of use those pictures sort of as lyrics for the song and make a video montaging through all the pictures.
I remember I was trying to draw like a sweet bud, like a sweet weed bud.
Okay.
But I had crayons.
Yeah, it was.
I was struggling hard.
There was a lot of different options for, like, we had Sharpies, we had crayons, we had pencil crayons.
I think I ended up with crayons.
Yeah,
for whatever reason.
You should have chosen more wisely.
Should have gotten Sharpies.
I think it was all just based on where you sat. You didn't. There wasn't options, like we didn't bring around a thing for you to pick from.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was off in the distance too. I was kind of like in the back of the room, or as it were.
Fair enough.
So.
Well, anyways, that was that. Now let's talk a little bit about some of the news going on.
Okay, so first of all, Andrew Scheer. I don't know if you saw this. It's been found out he was funneling money to like a private
to
private
pay for
school
his
for his
education.
kid.
Yeah, I know.
Isn't this the same thing? Felicity Huffman's like about to go to jail for 2 weeks or some shit.
So ironic. The conservative leader is taking money to pay for better education.
Yeah, and like, did we dodge a bullet or fucking what?
Oh, I know, it's the
that
worst.
That guy was almost our fucking prime minister. Imagine that comes out now.
Oh, I know. Yeah,
Jesus.
Yeah, it's not good. Now, I have heard kind of views on both sides where they're saying that this is common practice. Everyone gets money from the party to pay for education, and it's like it was approved by people that were in charge of approving things. Okay. So I don't know. I don't know how much of it was dirty and underhanded, but it certainly doesn't have a good look. There's
especially
no
not from the mudslinger Andrew Scheer.
Yeah, he wrote in. I saw this tweet that somebody reposted. They're like, "This tweet has not aged well," and it was all about him. Like, we must crack down on people using party money for personal spending,
right.
and yeah, it was really funny.
God damn it!
Yeah,
yeah.
What a loser.
What else is going on in the news? A veteran here in Edmonton killed himself on the front steps of the legislature building.
Yeah, at the protest, it was at a protest, right? Or they're protesting the government.
Yeah.
And that's dark.
I mean, it highlights an issue for sure.
Yeah, because he was saying, they need funding. I assume his point was sort of they need to fund mental health.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm not getting mental health funded. I'm going to fucking kill myself because of you fuckheads.
It's a legit
That's
thing.
the message that I take from it.
Our veterans and America's veterans and probably veterans around the world are not taken care of properly.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know if there is a way to take care of people properly that have been through some of that stuff. Like
probably stop fucking them up to begin with,
I
right?
don't know. Yeah. Like you're going to be damaged from that. And they talked about, it was in Rogan, I think. Maybe it wasn't actually. It was there's a new hardcore history that's just come out.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's part 2, I think, of they were talking about World War II and the battle in the Pacific. And he was talking about how there's different levels. Like it's one level of PTSD when you're like flying a drone from in America and killing people. It's another level to be flying an airplane over top of somebody and killing people. It's another level to be shooting someone from 500 yards away.
Yeah.
And it's another level to be up close in person, stabbing someone in the neck with a knife.
Yeah, feeling their lifeblood pump out.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
So there's varying different levels, and it's sort of easier to deal the more removed you are from it.
Totally. Yeah.
But either way, it's going to fuck you up some. For
sure. And in some weird way, it's almost kind of worse with the drones. Like you're so removed from it, but yet it's so real still. Like,
yeah, I don't
you
know.
pull a trigger hoping to kill the one guy and you kill 10 people. Kind of jacked up.
That would.
I can't imagine how that would fuck you up.
That would be hard to deal with for sure. But the not seeing it happen, it being like a computer screen,
you can kind of put it down.
I think it doesn't have the same overall emotional effects.
Almost like a Call of Duty thing happening.
Yeah. You're just executing orders and kind of disassociate from that.
Yeah.
So, should we get into JRE?
I think so. Yeah.
You said you wanted to talk about 1394, Matt Farah.
Yeah,
he was the host of the Smoking Tire.
When we were going back and forth at that time, that was kind of like the one that was sitting
favorite?
in my head, and it's been a week since that. So I'm like, I don't know. It was cool though. It was cool to hear them talk about like the future of electric cars.
Yeah,
and how much it's not going to be self-driving cars anytime soon.
No, and how much it does make sense when you're living in the city as like a daily commuter, especially as they get the charging stations down more accessible. But did you see his Porsche? They talked a lot about his Porsche.
I'd heard them describe it, but I didn't see a picture. No,
it's the Keen Safari, so it's a Safari edition. It's basically like a rally car.
Yeah.
They put a 4-inch lift kit on it, and then it's the same tires they use on the Ford Raptor.
Okay.
And so it's like larger wheels and wider tires and
what year of Porsche is it?
Oh, it's
like an old one, right?
Yeah, like late 90s, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
So the steel body, and then he's got bus fabric seats in it. So it's leather on the sides, and then a strip of bus fabric down the middle, and then it's like bus fabric on the doors and the like dash.
I love how that's how Joe opened it, while also being like, "That's disgusting."
Yeah, it is kind of, and it's fun. It is kind of gross, but it fits the vehicle actually quite well. It's a like kind of a maroon, purpley pink sort of. It's called red. The color is called red. If you look at it, it does not look red. You can go see it if you just go to YouTube and search "Smoking Tire Porsche." You can see Matt gets his.
But it's interesting that he puts so much
Porsche.
money into just something he can enjoy, right? Like he just wants to
that's his daily driver.
4x4 around her. In this
he drives
thing.
it. That's what he drives regularly, and he is in the video of him when he first got it. It shows him going over speed bumps, like accelerating through the speed bump, and no bottoming out at all.
No,
and it's just the ride is apparently like way smooth when you compare it to like a lowered Porsche that's designed for racing on a track where you don't have to deal with speed bumps or weird driveways.
Yeah.
This is a much more practical car to drive, and he loves it. And I'm looking at it, I'm like,
cool.
Man, the only thing I don't really like about it is there's 4 like floodlights like you'd see on the top of a Jeep mounted in between the 2 actual headlights.
Yeah,
and
it's a bit much.
Yeah, that's there. So it's a strip of 6 lights all along the whole front of the hood, and that I don't really like the look of. But I like the look of the lifted, and the bigger wheels on it. It looks cool.
Yeah, I've always been into like that idea of like, if you had any amount of money, like remember Pimp My Ride with Exhibit? Remember that show?
Yeah, of course.
Like he used to do weird shit all the time. Like, why not put a fucking TV that comes out the roof?
Yeah,
right?
Why not?
Just weird shit like that. It's just so fun to see it. And it's cool this guy's living that for real.
Yeah. The very next episode, 1395, Glenn Villeneuve, he was the Life Below Zero guy. Did you listen to that episode?
I didn't listen to that one.
Oh, Shane, you missed out. It was, I mean, the most fascinating part of it for me is he talks about the time that the wolves were attacking him.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, a pack of 20 wolves, which is unheard of. You don't see packs that large up there. And they had just killed what turned out to be like a moose, I think, out on the frozen lake, and they were just starting to eat it. And he went out there to go like take some pictures of them because he's like, holy shit, look at this giant pack of wolves. You never see this. Goes out, takes pictures, and they start kind of walking slowly towards him when he's out there taking pictures. He's like, oh, this is a little dangerous. I mean, he's maybe 100 yards from his cabin and probably 100 yards from the wolves in between them. So he starts backing up and moving back towards his cabin, and then they start running towards him.
Man.
And he's like, holy shit. So he runs back into the cabin, and then they go and they all just sit and they're staring at him in the cabin in this like yard, like 30 yards from his door.
Yeah.
And he's like telling the story of how crazy this is because wolf attacks are super rare.
Yeah.
They don't go after people. They're very, 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 very rare for a wolf to attack a person, and much less to have a pack of 20 that is trying to attack a human being, and kind of without provocation. Like it was a weird environment.
But they're kind of like, there's enough food here for us. Yeah, but with one more dead body, we could really eat.
Yeah, we might as well.
Yeah.
And maybe they felt that he was a threat to their moose. That's a possible thing as well.
They're trying to take that moose.
But they, eventually, 5 minutes goes by or so, and they go back to the moose out on the lake. And he's like, okay, I'm going to go out and get some pictures again. So he goes out, this time not quite as far, and starts taking pictures. And again, they start coming towards him. He's like, holy shit, this is not good.
Yeah.
So he goes back inside, and he's like, okay, I've got to do something about this, because we can't have a pack of wolves that are like learning this behavior that they can come and chase me
and dominate this field here, or whatever the fuck.
Make that their territory. So he gets his gun and he goes out there, and they start running at him again a third time now.
Yeah.
And then he ends up shooting a few of them.
They're going to kill a few of them motherfuckers.
And then they start turning tail and running away. And he talks about how after the whole thing was over, he went and measured out distances to see how close they were by the time he got the first one, and to see their patterns of their walk, because it's in the snow, so they can see all of that stuff.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating story about wolf attacks.
Man, that's harrowing.
Yeah.
People used to have to deal with wolves legit like that. Can you imagine living when like they were a real fucking threat?
Absolutely.
Like oh fuck, the river froze over. We're fucked.
Joe of course brought up the story about the
that's
wolves
right.
attacking
That's the one
in Paris.
I'm referring to.
Yeah, that was a big one. And then also in World War II, when they had to stop fighting because there were so many wolf attacks. Now, there's some debate as to whether that actually happened.
Right.
And it was Jamie was like, maybe not, but it's a nice story.
But through human history, wolves are prevalent, man. They show up as a villain all over through fables, and like that shit's real.
Yeah, that's
wolves
where Red Riding Hood comes from, a very real place.
Yeah.
Then the other thing he talked about was pooping out in nature, and he has a spot where he poops, where he doesn't dig a hole or nothing. He just poops onto the ground and then walks away from it and leaves it there.
No.
And he says it just like it disintegrates into the earth, and it just becomes. He's like, you'll go back the next day, there'll be no trace of it.
Yeah. The insects get it, I guess.
Yeah, still kind of gross though.
In the winter, it makes a mess, though. I bet.
I don't know. Yeah. I was in a little bit of disbelief. I've pooped outside. You ever pooped outside? Dug a hole and pooped into it?
Never have I dug a hole. I did once when I was a kid.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just camping in Saskatchewan last year, and I pooped into a hole that I dug in the ground.
Yeah.
It was my first time doing
Seems
that.
like what I'd probably think of doing, though.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want it out there for someone to discover, that's for sure.
No, you don't want to be, and the smell of it.
Or maybe myself accidentally step in it.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to step in it.
No.
I don't know. So that was kind of interesting to hear as well.
You had toilet paper, though? You didn't have to go leaves, did you?
No, we brought toilet paper.
That's
we
good.
actually brought this like potty that's like a chair, like almost like a lawn chair you put down with a toilet seat on it. And then so you put that right over top of the hole, and then you can still sit.
Oh, yeah. Use it a few times then.
Oh, yeah.
Just kind of bury it before you leave.
Yeah. That was
Nice.
really all we had for a bathroom in that area. There's no no running, no plumbing, no porta potties anywhere there.
Well, that beats squatting over the dead air.
Yeah, a
You
little
know?
easier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
So, should we get into Gamechangers documentary before we talk UFC?
Yeah,
Maybe
let's
a
do
little
it.
bit. All right. Now, neither of us have seen Gamechangers,
No,
and we kind of feel like we don't have to because we've
No.
listened now to 6 hours of podcast.
I mean it's
about-
about veganism versus not veganism, right?
Yeah, generally, and obviously, it very much pushes the agenda that veganism is the way to go.
Yeah,
And so, but that said, the initial debunking of the Gamechangers doc was proven to be very unfair,
yeah,
right? Because
Yeah.
James Wilkes, who is the producer of the Gamechangers, he came back on after Chris Kresher and Rogan had talked, and Kresher had basically gone through a list of itemized things that he had problems with.
mm-hmm.
And then Wilkes went through that list and picked out some things that he's like, one of the big ones, for example, was in the documentary, they say you can get as much protein from eating peanut butter sandwich as you can from eating X amount of grams of ground beef.
Yeah,
Right. And Kresher in the initial debunking episode was like, fuck that. You can't get it. You'd have to put on like 7 tablespoons of peanut butter and it would be gross. And it's not nearly as good a quality of protein as what you get from beef and from meat. It's not as bioavailable.
So did they actually debunk? Did James Wilkes actually prove that it was the same quality of protein? I'll agree that it's the same amount of gram for gram protein, but is that protein as bioavailable?
He had some notes on how it was and why it was.
He had a lot of notes.
And yeah, he did. And he got Kresher to agree that, okay, yes, that makes sense based on these studies that it is as good a quality of protein.
Yeah.
Also, because the thing that Kresher hadn't really taken into account was that there's also can be protein in the bread from the peanut butter sandwich.
Yeah.
And especially if you buy protein-enriched bread. So that's why the peanut butter sandwich can have the same amount of protein based on,
To me, the whole argument's weird.
Yeah. For me, the biggest thing that Kresher brought up initially that they didn't talk about in the rebuttal episode was talking about the value of life and are larger lives more valuable than smaller lives? Because obviously big scale agriculture, big ag, is hard on the environment and it's hard on animals, and growing vegetables monocrop kills animals.
Yeah, it's terrible.
As much as growing cows does.
Yeah.
And so it's
Yeah, if you take nutrition away from the equation and you're just looking at morality, it's kind of hard to argue with veganism.
totally.
Yeah.
Like,
I focus on the nutrition, and I'm not going to stop eating meat probably, but
I do feel better eating meat than not eating meat as well.
I mean, we dominated the earth. We won.
Yeah.
Bitches. So-
You're still my point is that you're still killing a lot of animals when you're eating vegan. Like
Yeah,
if you're
no,
eating
you are.
vegetables grown commercially, you are killing mice and of course all the insects that they have to kill, the herbicides and pesticides. Other small animals eat those herbicides and pesticides and then are eaten by other animals and kill those, so it's really a multitude of animals that are killing. And if there's a way to do what both of them kind of agree on is a way to do like sustainable farming it's I don't know if it's all figured out.
I mean, there's free range farming, right? Like letting the chickens move around a bit more, not having them all stuck in one place every day is better for the environment.
And moving where you're grazing your animals around and moving around where you're growing the different crops, so it's not monoculture in one area.
So that's easy to say for hobby farming, but when you're looking at wide scale productions, like
the problem is growing food for 320 million people.
That's right.
And you have to have a way to do that. Now, I think also like a ton. I know there's statistics. I don't know them off my head, but I know that a lot of food is wasted in the States, and if there's maybe a way we could get less food waste.
Yeah,
I've heard something like 40% of all the food that there's grown,
especially when you look at the fact that all the people in poverty starving at the same time as all the food that's being thrown away. That's kind of fucked up. Something needs to be done.
It is.
How do you do it though? It's tough, man.
The logistics are
the waste of
almost
restaurants
impossible.
and places like that. How do you stop that?
I don't know. I don't have the answers. I just know that there are problems with both veganism and, I applaud vegans for, I have no beef with them other than them trying to convert me and change me. But like,
Yeah.
I have
I
no
do
problem
have beef with vegans that eat at A&W and have a Beyond Meat burger, though.
Oh, yeah.
You're supporting a meat killing sort of place. But
fair enough.
But so I don't think a real vegan would actually eat at a place like that.
So, but Joe did say that he was very surprised at how well prepared James Wilkes was, and how well. And Crusher Crusher had to eat his words on every point that James made. Now, James didn't address every point that was, like I said, the value of lives. He didn't address, but it was pretty compelling. You can eat vegan and do it in a very healthy way if you plan accordingly and you meal prep and you are careful about what you're eating.
Yeah, I think you can. In this day and age, 20 years ago, I think you couldn't. You probably couldn't be healthy and be vegan 20 years ago.
Yeah, and a lot of people aren't. A lot of people that are switching to vegan, they're not paying super close attention to all the different nutrients and getting their blood work done. They're just going, okay, I'm just going to stop eating meat, and that's not good.
But also, he didn't really say why meat was unhealthy.
Well, he did say that he
tried to
meat
say
gives
why.
you cancer.
And Joe basically...
And Joe's like, well...
We've had proof of otherwise.
Yeah.
Like,
but he's kind of like, well, we'll get into that later. And then they never really got into
So here's
that.
My major takeaway. First of all, James Wilkes is a combative trainer, not a scientist.
Right.
And also... What's his name? Chris Crusher?
Chris Crusher.
He does not know how to read forest plots.
He does not know how to read forest plots. That's
that
true.
was so proved. So proved. Okay? You cannot read. I don't even know what a forest plot is.
I
First
don't
of
either.
all. It doesn't sound like it has anything to do with our topic.
I did not know how that was relevant
That was
to the
cracking
conversation.
me up so bad
But
today. Though.
anytime he was saying something, he's like, but you don't know how to read forest plots. So obviously you're wrong about
Like,
everything
bitch,
you've ever
no
said.
one here does except you.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about?
Well, and he got Crusher to admit that he's not an expert in nutrition as well.
Yeah.
Because he asked him, he's like, would you consider yourself an expert in nutrition? And Crusher's like, no. And then he kept bringing, okay, you yourself said you're not an expert in nutrition. So here, we're looking at protein. I'm saying this protein is as good. Boom, you're not an expert. I'm win.
Yes. I don't know, man. What James Wilkes is better at is winning an argument.
Yeah.
Okay? He's
Yeah.
intimidating. Chris Crusher is kind of like a bookish type of dude who's not going to get too aggressive that way.
For sure.
So I think that he
especially
won
not
with
a
just
former
aggressiveness.
UFC fighter.
Yeah, like he just won with aggressiveness from what I saw.
That said, though, remember the last debate? Because Crusher was on debating somebody previously that was vegan. I forget who it was.
Yeah,
and
I think
they
I remember.
Crusher and Rogan, everyone teamed up on the
non-vegan.
the
vegan.
vegan, and they were like, yeah, fuck you.
But that vegan was
forget
bullshit.
exactly.
That vegan had no points, if I remember. Wasn't he like a sort of like a New Yorkish accent, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, I don't really remember that. It was so long ago I listened to that episode that I just remember Crusher winning.
Yeah, me too. I'm with you there.
All right, well, let's get into the UFC. We haven't talked since the last fight night, Overeem versus Rosenstrike, which is kind of crazy.
Oh my god,
that lip of Overeem.
oh my god,
Pretty. That's the stuff of
Dude.
nightmares.
that's the worst case scenario right there.
That happened with 10 seconds left in the fifth round. Very, 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 very end of the fight. Rosenstrike just landed this insane straight punch right onto the lip of Overeem and basically ripped his whole lip in half.
So at first, before I actually saw a close up of the rip, I was like, "Oh fuck, he got right back up. Why are we stopping it?"
Yeah.
And then they showed him. He had a Joker grin happening.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
totally.
his face is off.
Yeah, that's not good. Yeah, you definitely need to stop that fight. You're like, there's
No, one more hit and his face might literally have come off.
no letting that go.
Was terrible, man.
The other fight on that card that really interested me was Stefan Struve versus Ben Rothwell.
Yeah.
And Ben Rothwell kicked Struve in the nuts about 100 times. And I don't think it was intentional. I think because Struve is so tall,
Yeah.
and Rothwell doesn't have the greatest.
Trying to give him a body kick.
He's trying to give him a body kick, and he just doesn't have the greatest mobility. He's not flexible. He's a little bit kind of one of those overweight
kind of a
heavyweights.
stodgy heavyweight fighter. Yeah.
So he just can't get his leg up that high, and he kicked him in the balls. I swear to God, it was at least 3 times, maybe 4 times.
Did he lose points for that?
He did, yeah. But in the last round, he kicked Struve in the balls, and then the ref was kind of like, he kind of talked Struve into fighting again, because Struve was like, he was hurt, and
his nut was
they're like,
exploded.
hey, you're okay, right? Are we gonna go here or what?
You can take 4 in the nuts, can't you?
And then so Struve was like, okay, yeah, let's go. And so then they started fighting again, which really, in hindsight, being 2020, they shouldn't have, because Rothwell then stormed on him, and Rothwell got the finish in that third round.
Should have went for the DQ.
Yeah, I mean, he could have just let it. Yeah. But of course, he's a fighter. He wants to keep going. He wants to win. He's ahead in points at that point, and he was doing a good job, other than getting kicked in the nuts all the time.
I mean, that's not this technique you're trying to defend, really.
Yeah, I know. It's a weird thing, and it makes me also wonder too. Like, the UFC is kind of about figuring out what is the martial arts that work the best, and because of these rules, you don't really see what is the most effective.
Nut kicks, bro.
Yeah, like nut kicks are really pretty effective.
Pretty up there.
Eye pokes as well. Like,
throat punches.
If you are fighting someone out in the, keeping your fingers out and getting your fingers in the eyes of your opponent and kicking them in the nuts, that seems to be probably the most effective strategy, especially if you're not like an elite level martial artist.
Yeah, I mean, my uncle always told me, if you're ever fighting a big dude, you kick him in the nuts.
Yeah,
it's over.
Much as you can.
And then other more honorable people maybe told me not to kick people in the nuts, but
yeah,
I mean, but yeah, you want to end the fight, that's it.
Anyways, we're gonna go watch the fights where hopefully people don't get kicked in the nuts a whole bunch. Hopefully, it's a fair fight. This is sport. This isn't. This is fighting, but it's also just a sport.
So last time we definitely said that we agreed that Kamaru's got this one.
That I hope so.
Have you been watching countdowns and have you been following the lead up to this?
Yeah, it's been a lot of talk between Usman and Covington, and I mean the last thing I saw, they kind of, because they've been going at it back and forth since like 2009, like a long time now. They've been like, "Fuck you, I'll fight you right now," and there's like, so I don't know. I'm not explaining that well.
I mean, I fucking hate Covington, but also in the last week, I've kind of hate him less.
I appreciate that. And I mean, Rogan says, too, that that's not who he actually is. He's playing the heel. He's playing a World Wrestling Federation heel.
Yeah.
So that to sell tickets and to make it exciting. And he wants people to hate him. And he's done a good job of
That's
making
what I mean.
people hate him.
Chael Sonnen, like in hindsight, he's pretty fucking great.
Chael Sonnen's great.
What are you going to say about Chael Sonnen that you don't like anymore, right?
Yeah.
But he was that guy too.
I liked him though when he was calling on Silva and whatnot. Like I liked Chael Sonnen in the moment a lot more than I like Covington in the moment.
Yeah, but I think it's the Trump thing, right? Like that definitely has something to do with it.
That is a factor.
You're playing on a very real issue.
Also, the like racism in Brazil of calling them all dogs or whatever.
You made me backstep a little bit because I was kind of an anti-Brazil fighter guy for a while. Not just because I hate Brazil, but just because most of the Brazil fighters I don't like. But it's whatever. Yeah.
So I don't know. We're gonna go see how it all ends up, and I guess probably the next episode we can talk about the results. If there's whatever there is of note, there's a lot of good. There's 3 title fights. Max
Holloway, fucking Volkanov. That's kind of maybe my favorite fight.
I mean, I think Holloway pieces him up. That's my guess.
Yeah.
And then Nunes, too, who I fucking love. I love Nunes.
Pound for pound, whatever great you want to call her. She's the great of women's fighting.
She's the great. Yeah.
Period.
All-time greatest. Pound for pound best women's fighter of all time. For sure. After knocking out Cyborg. That just cemented that.
Another interesting thing, though, is Aldo, who looks like walking fucking death. I don't know if you've seen him at 135. He looks bad.
Is he fighting tonight, too?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right.
He looks bad.
That's
bro, he should have been going up, not down.
Aldo.
But we'll see. I mean, Marias needs a fucking way back in because he's been losing.
Yeah.
So I hate to see him fucking put Aldo in his grave, but
I don't really have strong feelings of who I want to win that fight.
No.
But I'm curious to see it, I guess.
I mean, it's just interesting because I've been watching Aldo, and really I only care about Aldo because of Conor McGregor.
Yeah, because he had the fastest knockout.
Because of how he got knocked out.
There. Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it, folks. No, wait. We got to hear Shane's Joe Rogan observation.
My observation. Okay, so think of like old school. Okay, remember the Batman cartoon from like the 90s? The animated series that you used to watch after school? Everybody did.
Okay.
The villains all look like Joe Rogan. He's got like this like hunched like shoulders and neck thing. He looks like an old school fucking mobster villain, does he not?
Interesting, because he's so big in his
Like
upper
if you
body
put
and
like a
short
fucking
legs.
fedora on him and like a big old fucking suit,
Okay.
he would, and put like a Tommy gun in his hand.
Yeah.
He's got like that
the
jaw.
Dick Tracy
He looks like
sort
the
of
villain Batman would beat up all the time.
Yeah.
Like I've seen Batman beat Joe Rogan up 1,000 times. I feel like
That is an interesting observation.
that was my observation.
You just need to write a joke to go along
I know
with
that joke needs to go in there. Yeah, there needs to be a punchline. And
That's funny.
Joe jokes are tough, like I've been saying.
All right. Well, I'll tell a street joke again.
Okay.
And this one, since we talked about Matt Farah and cars, car-related street joke.
Sweet.
All right?
Yeah.
So, okay. So there's this snail, and he's really tired of being slow. And so he goes to the nearest Renault dealer.
Mm-hmm.
Renault is a terrible brand. I would not have used that. I would have said Porsche dealer, and buys one. Brand new Porsche. Has them paint a big red S on the side of the car for snail.
Okay.
Right? So everyone will see him and marveling at his new speedier lifestyle and exclaim, "Sacre bleu! Look at that S car go!" Yeah. So a bit of a groaner, but a good way to end
Nice.
Rogan Report podcast.
Very
topical, on point. And yeah. Have a good one, everyone. We'll talk to you again next week or the next week or the next week.
Hopefully the next week, because I can't wait to talk about this fight after tonight.
Yeah. Hopefully with less than 3 weeks from now.
Christmas is coming.
But Christmas is coming.
It would be good to get one up before
We are
Christmas.
busy. Yeah, maybe on Christmas, or maybe we'll release one. If not on Christmas, then early
I'm
in
off
the
on
new
Christmas Eve. I don't know.
year. Okay,
That might be touch and go, but
shots fired.
yeah.
Thanks, everyone. Go to our website. Send us messages. Love to talk to you guys. Reach out to us, and buy things on Amazon through our thing. Anything else that we need to talk about for? You're doing the whole business side of this thing, aren't you?
I mean,
Shane?
my man Conor McGregor is coming back in January. I'm going to do a big one. We should do something for that. I
All
don't
right.
know.
Yeah, I'm down with that too.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
it. Thanks,
that's
guys.
Yeah.
Talk to you later.
Take it easy.